if this sequence of events from Georgia's recruiting staff and everyone that was on campus this weekend doesn't light your fire, you're probably a Tennessee fan. Rusty, Roose, and Palmer. Let's talk about it, guys.
Well, it was insane. I mean, it was crazy, right? It all fired up early on Friday, and I know, Dylan Raiola, Joseph Jonah Ajanye was there. Justin Williams was there on Friday. Jeremiah Smith arrived on Friday. So the stars were out bright and early. But then everything just got insane on Saturday morning. We thought, I thought I was going to get able to sleep in a little, just, retweet a couple pictures from a scavenger hunt. Real nice occasion. Not the case at all.
You get a pre-8 a.m. call from Jake Roose. I'm seeing if it's collect number one or something's really going on.
That's the hospital normally.
I was concerned.
Something was really going on. And, there was some discussion on whether that would take place. And Chad Simmons and I had discussion, I believe, on Thursday night. And we were we heard that potentially could be happening. So we did some checking, and luckily, Roose was on top of it Saturday morning, and Jake Rowe, he is about a Waffle House and a Piggly Wiggly jog away. And he got there right in time and did a hell of a job covering that event. But, it was something we had to make sure was going to happen, but it just so happened in Jake Rowe's hometown of good old Jefferson, Georgia.
Yeah, it's amazing how that works out.
Meanwhile, I woke up, but without an alarm to 13 missed text messages, and was like, "Oh, I got to get to work." Luckily, there was no Palmer Tom's get your butt there.
No, it was something else, man. It really was. It was crazy. You just don't. Rusty, maybe you got a comp for something like this, man. I mean, this is year 8 or 9 for me in this, and there's not really anything that's ever happened like this on a visit weekend like this, that they've gone out and basically sought out a guy. I mean, they took the thing to Sammy Brown is what it really, I felt like, boiled down to in a lot of cases.
There's some connection with Dylan Raiola's personal quarterback coach. He works with one of the Jefferson staff's son. So there's some connection there. That's how Dylan was able to set up everything and use that school. Now, it just so happened to be Sammy Brown. That doesn't hurt. But
yeah,
Dylan Raiola has a connection to Jefferson through his personal quarterback coach, who also does some guys in Georgia. And that's kind of what I heard is how everything started. So, Georgia can't have anything to do with anything like that. If Dylan Raiola goes out and does that, then you sit in the office and say, "Hey, y'all have fun and be careful and get back here for this scavenger hunt." And that's the way it went. It looks like that's the way it went down.
And you're probably also, patting yourself on the back a little bit there for saying, "Hey, we got a self-starter in this kid." Somebody that is going to be proactive with, not only when he gets on campus as a recruit, when he gets on campus as a player, but he's going to be proactive, before he, is under their watch.
Yeah, I'm not going to take too much away from Jake Rowe. We're hoping that at some point he'll pop on here tonight.
Yeah, he'll be on. He's on daddy duty.
He commented on the fact that what was one of the things that really impressed him was that Raiola was the guy just kind of leading the thing, dude. I mean, it was like he was doling out marching orders and everybody was looking to him for what to do. I think the leadership really caught Jake's eye while he was out there. And, we're talking about a casual throwing session. This is not, organized practice. This is some dudes getting together, but Dylan Raiola was running the show, man.
Old school Sandlot. Hey, y'all show up over here. We're going to throw, I'm going to bring the ball and we'll get together. You guys think about that. Whoa.
Was that him?
Copper Hill, Tennessee, baby.
Oh, man.
I thought that was Rose Saturday morning.
I didn't realize Roose was was also on his front porch in this camera angle.
Oh, you'd hear a lot more if I was on the front porch. I promise you that. Buddy.
Have y'all seen anything like that though? Anything similar to what Raiola did?
On a visit weekend that I can recall. That was what I was.
The only thing I could possibly compare it to was one of those dog nights where like Trevor Lawrence was there throwing, Rashad Gary was in Athens working out. You're talking about that's a major camp. But as far as seeing, I'd actually text Sammy Brown's dad. I said, damn, that looked like the Chargers mini camp over there today. And he just said, just blown away, and he's obviously a coach at Jefferson. So he was there with his son and his younger son, Max, who just received his first Division I offer before he gets into high school as a linebacker at South Florida. So, it's just one of those deals. I don't know if you guys remember, I ran up on Jacob Eason throwing with Kyle Davis and some guys one time over at Emerson Point. Nobody was there.
You're now you're drawing some names out of the pocket there with Kyle Davis, man.
At the time, that was 2 5-stars, and they really didn't know each other. So they had met through a coach, and they met up in Cartersville, Georgia, Emerson, Georgia, and Easton's like, hey, if you want to stop by this morning, I'm going to throw. I'm like, well, hell yeah, I'm going. So, but you multiply that times 10 with the amount of players. That's kind of what I ran into with something like that before.
And then before we move on to the scavenger hunt at large, let's check in with Dylan Raiola and what he had to say about recruiting for head coach Kirby Smart.
Been awesome, being able to recruit for a guy like Coach Smart and the rest of their staff. Staff's incredible, and just for me to get out here and throw with these guys, just to see what it's like to be out here in Georgia, around some committed guys, and have some key pieces that we want to add. So just making that a priority. We wanted to do it. Yeah, it's been awesome.
Key pieces that they wanted to add. When you look at how this weekend went on campus, it wasn't just this workout. That's what's getting all the lightning rod attention. Dylan said he wants to find out what it's like in Georgia. It's hot. It was a hot weekend to be on campus in Athens, but with all of the selfies that Palmer put together in a social media piece, all these guys that are on campus, not just to do this workout, but to get a taste of what it's like to be in the Classic City and to be a part of a pretty special recruiting class. What was some of your takeaways from that event and everything that went on with Coach Smart and all of the Georgia assistants?
Star-studded. I was going to say star-studded cast. Palmer, you put the piece together.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there, and it's obviously we had talked about it beforehand, but it's a little bit of something that you'd be surprised that you're able to draw this kind of attention to. High schoolers typically aren't all too eager to do something like this. And clearly it's something that works because you saw Dan Lanning take it out west and do it at Oregon this same weekend. But yeah, star-studded group. In that picture, the one that we're looking at there with
that's crazy that's crazy that Nikar and Dylan Raiola and JJ Smith all ended up on one team. Like some of the other ones felt like they were position-based teams, and somehow Raiola and Smith got to be together on a team. That's weird.
Hey, he was the only quarterback in town. You had to throw him with his wide receivers. Sokovia White gets left out though. Who was the team captain there? Was it Dylan Raiola or was it Andrew Smart?
It had to be Andrew Smart.
Had to be.
Dude, look how hard he looks in that photo, dude. He's not playing.
Word on the street was he was in Bobo's butt all day. Come on, come on, let's go.
What's even better is the mic.
I wonder where he gets it from.
I like the theory that he's Georgia's leading recruiter for this class, and I'm kind of starting to buy into it with the way that look at how those guys have embraced him.
How about this though?
In the summertime, he goes and runs with them, which those guys have to respect. A 10-year-old kid is out there running sprints at 5 and 6 o'clock in the morning with them.
Yeah, it's probably insulting if they can't keep up. It looks like they didn't have to hunt for Coach Smart too hard though. They're on a football field.
I would imagine Coach Smart made himself quite available for wherever Jeremiah Smith was. I don't think they had to search real hard.
Yeah.
I got a feeling the scavenger hunt may have been a little bit rigged in Jeremiah Smith's favor, if I'm being honest with you.
What's up, Jake Rowe? We had some people talking smack in here about your 40 times.
The word was you were running down the hill at Jefferson probably at about a 4.65 Saturday morning.
Hey man, I wore flip flops. I didn't even break stride, dude. I didn't run. I had the best 8-year-old assistant anybody could have asked for.
Awesome.
I told her, I said, "Hey, grab them scrambled eggs. We got to hit the road." And she did. She did, dude. She grabbed them, threw some jellies on. Threw some little shoes on, and she hit the road, man. She, I forgot my tripod in the car. I was like, "Hey, can you get my tripod?" She goes,
"You forgot your tripod? No way."
Yeah, but it was in the car. She said, "What's a tripod?" And I said, "It's that metal thing that you put a camera on. Please hurry."
I don't have time to explain this to you.
Hey, and that's the last thing I had to explain, dude. She was awesome, but it was a good time going out there, man. I was really impressed. And I told my wife this. She goes, "What are you doing? Like, what's going on?" And sometimes you just sound real stupid, explaining some of this stuff to the people you know and people you love. And I told her, I said, this is why these kids are where they are.
Yeah.
Like they could have been having, a big brunch. I mean, I know what Jake Rowe would have been doing. I'd have been eating biscuits and gravy.
I'm going to tell you that is the third time you have mentioned you could have been having a big breakfast.
Yeah,
you really kept hammering that home with those kids.
Does anybody think that anything else?
Man, why aren't you having a big breakfast right now?
Yeah. Does anybody think about a free big breakfast? By the way, let's get Palmer Thomas involved in this thing too.
And if you're having spent a Friday night in Athens, maybe shaking off a hangover too.
Yeah. None of these guys though.
Allegedly.
Nobody there had gone out. Jesus.
Nobody drinks in Athens until they're 21.
Absolutely.
But no, I mean it's but they could have been. I mean anything, right? I mean they could have been getting all the attention in the world, or getting wined and dined, or getting a cookie cake, or
waking up in the Tridell house, man.
I still can't get away from it. Trying my best to get away from the food, and I can't. But ultimately, they weren't doing
cookie cake.
There wasn't a dry thread on Dylan Raiola when I got a chance to talk to him on Saturday. He was soaked, and that's how hard they had worked, man. And they were out there for about an hour and a half, probably hour and 15 minutes, super muggy morning. And I've seen a lot of quarterbacks throw, a lot of big time quarterbacks too, throw in these like laid back settings where it's not super competitive and the juices aren't flowing like that. And they're not as good normally, like they're not as locked in. He was locked in. He was accurate. And I think the thing that impressed me most, and folks see this, saw this if you saw what I wrote over there at DawgsHQ is, he ran that thing like a coach. He was barking orders. He was like, no, that wrong route, that kind of thing. And he was doing it in such a way that was encouraging, that was positive. And everybody's just kind of out there watching him work. And he was the look-to leader of the entire group. I came away really impressed with Nye Carr. You want to talk about kind of a smaller cat that plays bigger, long arms, long limbs. He's a good-looking athlete. Sokovie White's a good-looking athlete. Was impressed with Ryan Williams. I'd seen him at Under Armour and felt like at Under Armour he was probably a little bit more explosive than maybe he was on Saturday. Maybe dialing it back a little bit. Who knows? May have a ingrown toenail for all I know. It was a cool thing to experience, cool thing to watch because they were out there getting after it.
I'm going to play devil's advocate here. How do we know this was more than just a social media opportunity, Jake Rowe? You were out there.
In what way?
Just stage posed just to make some ripples, make some waves for the gram. Was this? How do we know this was a legit hardcore Dylan Raiola's in town? He's the big dog. You listen to me now. I'm the captain of the ship.
The fact that his, like I said, he didn't have a dry thread on him. It wasn't anything super easy for him. He was out there working hard. They all were. I mean, I'm sure that they, enjoyed some attention and getting some videos out there and had some fun. But I think ultimately for him, it was a chance to be like, hey, let's come out here and see what we've got. Let's come out here and compete and see what each other's all about. I think it was multifaceted, in that way, because sometimes, like we talked to Joseph Jonah, Ajanye.
Yeah.
Talked to him, and he had a really interesting thing. If you haven't read it, come on over, please read it, about Trey Scott and his time sitting down with Trey Scott and how that impacted him as a player just in a few minutes. Sometimes whenever you're trying to recruit these guys or you're trying to, be the voice inside their head a little bit, go show off for them a little bit. Go say, hey, man, listen, I haven't thrown to you before. Let me come throw to you and you can see what I look like. And I think that's something that would probably kind of help him in his recruiting pitch. And, I think that was a big part of it.
I can tell you this, a bunch of teenage young men, if they're going to stage something, they're not going to do it at 8:00 in the morning. I mean, it's going to be a prime time, 5:00 after lunch. I mean, to get a bunch of guys like that with thousands of offers, they kind of learning to know each other a little bit, and they might talk on threads and all that, but to actually be in person and throw routes and be in front of each other, to go 20 miles up the road to a high school at 8:00 in the morning after you've been, busy, you're traveling all day, you're tired, and you're like, you know what, let's get up at 8 and let's go throw routes. That says a lot.
I asked that because I saw someone in the comments of one of our tweets or one of our posts saying it's amazing that there just happened to be cameras everywhere. And I think this was, once again, a Tennessee fan. I'm not joking. I think Tennessee fans really got upset by seeing this performance from all these Georgia targets, Georgia commits, and that Tennessee-Georgia rivalry is brewing stronger and stronger on social media every day. But that's just not how this works. And
I don't think they were really hoping we'd be out there. I didn't
Sure.
get I got the hey.
I mean, they had a video crew.
Yeah. I mean, I got the kind of the hey, you're here, cool, we're not gonna run you off type vibe, but I never got the hey, come on down. Where's that camera at? Get it out real quick, hurry.
You want to run some reps?
And asking for interviews after, it was real awkward. Listen, I hadn't done that in a long time. All right, I hadn't walked up and cold interviewed anybody in a long time, and I'll tell you this right now, you start to feel intimidated by 170-pound, 17-year-olds. Like, man, hey, man, listen, come on, man. I came on.
I got a cookie cake in my car, man.
Yeah. Please, can I have 30 seconds of an interview, and then I interview you for like 4 minutes?
Jake, I wanted to ask you, because one of the things that I think that you and I talked about that stood out to me was what you said about Dylan Raiola's build. And I don't know that it's something that comes across necessarily in photos.
Yeah. I thought, I'd seen photos of the kid, and I was like, hey, he's, you'd seen the Big Ben comparisons, and you're like, yeah, he kind of is Big Ben. He's kind of chunky. Kid's going to weigh 260 in the offseason type kid. No, he's put together like a linebacker. I mean, he's put together very similarly put together to Sammy Brown. Now, I don't think he's 6'4". I think that's probably a little much. But he's probably 6'2.5", and right around 220 and maybe 215. And he's in very, very good shape. Just a good looking athlete, just in general, moves really well.
I was trying to pull up your photo story. Jake Rowe has an entire photo gallery of not just Dylan Raiola, but everyone that was in front of that lens over at Jefferson.
Palmer Collins actually wrote that story. I took the photos because
I didn't.
Jake Rowe did the legwork, and everybody else just.
We had so much going on, and so much back and forth, and so much.
It was just air raid sirens going on.
I think I finally told Palmer, I said, "Hey man, I have got to finish this one thing. Like I've got to finish one thing, or I'm going to feel like a failure."
I think I told you I pivoted from like 3 different interviews. I was like, no, I'm pivoting to this now, pivoting to this.
Yeah.
Hey, my work here didn't take much. Charles Power wrote all those scouting. I just put the DawgsHQ logo on him.
Legendary day in Jefferson, Georgia, man. This is one of those things, one of those moments in Georgia recruiting that it just feels like, you know, you look at this class, you look back on it, people are going to be talking about this specific morning for a long time. And I don't know
there were 3 other outlets out there, and I want to say all 3 of them did a great job. I mean, all 3 of them did a fantastic job, you know, and they did their thing, and kudos to them too, because, you know, Saturday morning, there are a lot of them younger than I am, you know, and, you know, I've been up since about 5:30 goofing off, trying to have a long time, watch some TV, not have anybody yelling at me, the kids, make me some cereal, stuff like that. So I was enjoying it. But then, you know, the thing came, and we're just trying to figure out, hey, are we going to go or are we not? And then it's like, go now.
Rusty said how freaked out he was. How freaked out were you to get a call from me at 8 o'clock on a Saturday morning? You knew something was going on.
I was worried that that old Otis had got locked up in the drunk tank.
That's what I told him. I thought it was going to be a collect calls. What I said.